2023 Auburn University Marching Band. For your halftime entertainment, we celebrate the 43-year reign of the Speed Metal Kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage with the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
It's Wednesday night, and that means it's time for another edition of Auburn Family Night. This is our show each and every week here at E2C Network, where you, the Auburn family, take center stage. Our concentration is going to be what you want to talk about. Comments, questions, topics. I'm sure you got them. And of course, your calls as well. Let's get into all those different things right now. War Eagle, everybody, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, discuss, and share the Auburn experience, all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it, though, is if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. So thank you so much for joining us and what we're going to be doing this evening in our live Q&A time here on TikTok. Not TikTok. What am I doing? Here on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, all the normal platforms that we broadcast this show. We're here to talk about the Auburn experience primarily tonight, Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff, but we are primarily here to talk about what you want to discuss in the Auburn experience. So if that's you, if that's something that you're interested in, one of those fine things that you can discuss with us, jump on into the chat here, hang out with us a little bit, and spend some time talking about that with us this evening. This is a show that is primarily about you, so that means obviously your comments and questions in the live chat are going to be important, but also your live calls. Will open up that phone line in just a little bit for everybody, and you can start utilizing that if you find it up in the top of your viewing your live chat. I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. Your live chat here on YouTube. You should be able to access it on Facebook. But if you are on X, which by the way, I'm watching on X and I don't see the live stream broadcast, which would explain a few things. So I don't know what's going on over there. I always try to monitor it. But anyway, we're happy. Those of you that have made it here, just don't know why the X audience is not seeing us at this current time. Anyway, we appreciate you guys popping in with us, whether you're watching live on the replay. Do us a favor, let us know that you're here. A lot of you have already done your normal drill. You've announced your presence. Let us know where you're checking in from. Got our resident Bama fan here as well. Good to see everybody. A lot of familiar faces. Make sure you hit the like button, the share button, wherever you're watching it. And we're going to have a good show and a good talk this evening. Now, I have this stream titled, the Auburn Family Night is where you all want to take it. We'll obviously come prepared to talk about what's out there in the space. There's always things top of mind that we can be discussing. The baseball season is at hand. Softball's underway. So that pretty much, I think every spring sport now is underway. Golf in action, tennis in action, equestrian, track and field's been going, but that's indoor season. So technically their outdoor season hasn't begun yet, if you need to wait to count that. But look, obviously it's running in full swing there, but baseball is the thing that's everybody's excited about right now because of some hype that's built around that. Once again, I'm going to talk to you a lot about, the idea of building narratives that maybe aren't necessarily there to start with, or that maybe you just need to think a little bit longer and harder about. But we'll see. We'll see what everybody thinks. If anybody wants to talk about that, we can discuss basketball. There's a lot of, and I have maybe a few things to say about this evening. There's a lot of catastrophizing going on in the fan base. A lot of people think that they know better, and they don't. I promise you. But Auburn basketball is sitting in a fine situation right now. I'm not saying it's an outstanding situation, but we can dive into that in a little bit situation too if we need to. There's always off-season football talk that could be had, so there's the sports angle of that. There's actually been a surprising amount of things that I've discovered and that I've seen coming around, discussions around the town of Auburn, all that stuff, the culture, the family. So that's out there for you too if you want to discuss it. And there's plenty of other things that we can talk about that aren't even in this space. So you pick the topics, you pick the questions. We'll take your calls in just a little bit, so you can start getting ready for that right now. And then we'll get rolling with that kind of stuff. Let's see what WT is getting us started with this evening. On the broadcast, we have got, do you think Stephen was sending a message to the team by keeping Hall on the bench for so long? I know they played really well with him on the bench, but wondered if it was about Hall not passing. First of all, I guess there's a lot in your question there, WT, so let's dissect that a little bit. I don't try to build any narratives. You're going to see this is a common theme with me, and I'm really trying to hammer this home into our fan base so that they look and sound the best they possibly can and just are wise, more wisdom rather than looking for reasons. I go off of what I know, and Coach was addressed that and talked about that he was really just giving those that were giving us the best chance to win in that game opportunities to keep playing. I think you could also go the angle of speculation and say maybe that was a little bit in response to the technical foul that he drew from talking to the refs. There's been some conversations amongst fans about, is he quote unquote ball hogging? That's kind of what he was brought in here to do, was be the guy and create a lot of offense. And he has done that. And then some, and I think he's earned the right to do that to a certain degree. Now, all I have to go off of is the facts that Coach has said, hey, this was not necessarily about that. It was more about, what was working at the time and wasn't working at the time. Yeah, so we didn't. There's press conferences that are available. We typically don't put the post-game press conferences up unless there's a clip that we want to address, and maybe if I had time, I should have put that one up for you guys. Look, sometimes there's coach speak and sometimes there's not. I think sometimes fans are looking for things to find wrong, not necessarily you, but it is what it is at this point. It wasn't about his passing. I mean, it could have been. Only he knows, and we can only go off of what he said. WT also said Auburn basketball is in the best hands it could possibly be in. Complete faith that Stephen was the right pick from what I have seen so far. I think he has put together a strong body of work. However, there are some things that haven't looked as good at times, but it's a full season of ups and downs. Not every season is going to be peachy keen. Oh, I got that little, what do you call that? Hangnail, keto, whatever. That's not a hangnail. That's unfortunate. It's going to bother me the whole show here. Okay, let's, I think, this is the same comment twice, Auburn Elvis. I don't know why I posted it twice. Here's Auburn Elvis. If you don't know Auburn Elvis, you should. He is our host for the War Horses podcast, and he's got his latest episode out today that you should be checking out to get up to date on Auburn equestrian, but also NCEA action, which is all of equestrian action. So he gets you well-rounded in that regard. So new episode out today for week 12. Check that out if you haven't. Okay, you had a grammar error. So let's go to the non-grammar error. How about that? I appreciate good grammar, right? Even if I don't use it myself. All right, so Auburn Elvis says, Auburn people are feeling down about a lot of current sports right now. Which sport do you think will be the one that will have a big moment of success that gets people happy again? Well, you could go the one that looks to be the most obvious one, and that's baseball. I'm going to tell you, though, every time I say this, I know there's people that roll their eyes at me, that dismiss me. There was a lot of discussions preseason about this Auburn women's tennis team. Now, they just got knocked out of the ITA championships, which is like the top, 16 or something that usually that play in that. They were a 1 seed on the opposite side of the other 1 seed. And, maybe if it goes chalk, they win it all, and they were doing well. Problem is, they were the number 1 in the ITA championships, but they came up against the number 1 ranked team, Georgia, who was the number 2 seed. I know that doesn't make sense necessarily. So I think the Auburn spring is going to be a lot of fun to watch between baseball. It'll be exciting to see what happens in year 2 of the Malveaux era. Since Coach Leroy Burrell has been here, he has stepped up the track and field competition, especially on the men's side, a lot. So that'll be intriguing. Men's and women's tennis, especially women's, and then men's and women's golf, especially men's golf with what Jackson Coyven is doing. So, to the point Auburn Elvis is trying to make here, that there's people that are feeling down about a lot of the sports right now. To them, I say, you're just not paying attention to the right ones or spending enough time paying attention to the right ones. Because if you are, that doesn't affect you as much. That's just me. You don't have to agree with it, but there's a lot to look forward to this spring. This is WT says, I think Auburn basketball will turn it around and end the season on a up note. I agree, and I think they have a high ceiling that people are ignoring and not willing to see as much right now. And I get that to a degree. The night always feels darkest before the dawn. I am really okay. It is live, so I was wondering if our Twitter feed was live or not, and it is. So I feel a lot better now. I was wondering what was going on there. So it's really weird. All right. We have our first caller ready. So you guys can keep comments, questions, topics coming, and then we'll get going here in just a second. I'm managing a ton of things. Oh, I can pin that thing for you guys on Facebook. Look at that. Would you look at that? Look at that. Look at that. All right. Let's get our first caller in here. He's been waiting patiently. You know him. You love him. Mr. Kevin, what's going on with the blurry screen tonight? What's going on?
How you doing?
How are you doing this evening, buddy?
I'm doing good.
I'm doing well as well. What's on your mind this evening?
They should put Kingshaw Hall back in last night so we can win.
Well, you don't want to know. You want to know that your team can win without their best player, which they have proven they can do to some degree when he has not played well in other games. However, you don't just put a player back in just because he's the quote unquote best player. You put him in because they've earned it. They've, not done anything to be a detriment to the team in any way. I'm not saying that necessarily Keyshawn had, but that element is there. So you got to be careful. You can't just give people, because they're the best player, the right to come back in. They got to earn it. Everybody's got to earn it.
Pettiford stepped up.
He certainly did. Wasn't that nice to see him at home shooting as well as he did? That's 2 games in a row at home, because all season the knock has been on the kid. He plays well everywhere except home. And when people say that, they're talking about his offensive numbers while they're ignoring his, at most of the time, defensive numbers, his sharing of the ball, what he's facilitating in other ways. Now, there are high expectations for him from the coaches, from the fans. I grant you that. But, look, Tahad having a great offensive game more frequently here at home has been nice to see.
How about the softball? What?
Uh-oh.
I think we're losing. The softball team played tomorrow.
What time? Are you asking what time they play? Kevin, I think we're having some connection issues.
So I can listen to it.
Well, I don't know if you have ever done it, but there is a way that you can get, and maybe somebody can help you with it, get the calendar put into your phone. I have it there. Looking at the calendar, it says 5 p.m. Central Time, Auburn versus Illinois State. So part of I think you see is it the War Eagle Classic or the Tiger Classic? One of the two. They have like 2 main.
War Eagle Classic.
There you go. So Illinois tomorrow, and then after that they'll play Bradley, Campbell, and then I think they kind of round robin it again and play a bunch of the other ones. So a lot. Hey, there's a lot happening on the plains this weekend if you're there. Kevin, I think we are having some strong connection issues. Try one more time, and we might have to give this another go another time.
I said I'm proud of the baseball team.
Yeah, what are you proud of them about? Season hasn't started yet, but what are you proud of them for?
They be playing on Friday night.
You're just proud that they're going to be playing.
Yeah.
I got you. Well, they do have a lot of preseason hype, and we're excited to see what they can do this year.
And I got you a question for you to answer.
All right, let's round out our call with that. What we got?
Who do you think be the player of the year in football for Auburn?
Oh, buddy, I haven't even begun to think about next year. I know that seems so foreign to everybody, but my goal is to help people stop thinking less about something that's going to take place months and months from now. Why don't you ask me that again after spring? Because at least then we'll get to look at something of substance out
Yeah.
there on some type of field. There are very easy answers out there
And I
in terms of offense and defense. Your leaders are likely going to be Byram
think
Brown
we
and going to
can
be
beat
Xavier
Arkansas
Atkins. And
Saturday.
unfortunately, we just don't know yet.
I think we can beat Arkansas on Saturday.
Well, we've already done it once, so we certainly
I
can do
think
it
we
again.
can beat Arkansas on Saturday.
Yeah, but you got to do it in Bud Walton this time. So we'll see if it happens. Hey, buddy, I think we're having some connection issues tonight, but we got a few questions in there for you. So maybe it'll be a little bit better next week. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
War Eagle.
All right. War Eagle, Kevin. Thanks for trying tonight. Yeah, I was wondering with the blurry screen tonight if we were having a little bit of issues there, but I appreciate him hanging in there and you guys hanging in with us there on the call. It happens that way sometimes. It's just, you never know. The internet's just, it's tough. It's tough. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. It'll be, I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, sorry, there's new like functions on here that I'm trying to figure out and things like that. All right, so I want to address a couple things here at the start. You will notice that our viewership numbers on all these things have been really down as of late. And I think this is to the point of what Auburn Elvis was saying earlier too. You know, times for Auburn in terms of its big sports outside of baseball, which hasn't started yet, are pretty, in people's minds, pretty down. Football, yes, has not had a great time. Basketball is not meeting a lot of people's expectations. I get you and stuff like that. So there's just you're gonna see a lot of that lately. And look, people can do what they want to do and all that kind of stuff. But the great thing that we have here on Auburn Family, those of you that keep coming back, we really do appreciate that and spend a lot of time with us, because y'all, not to say that, I don't know how to make this sound without how do you make this what I'm trying to express not sound bad? We just appreciate those of you that are here when it's very down about that. So what I would say is, let's we're gonna lay off the people that are not here as much, and we appreciate those of you that are here right now. We'll keep going with these types of shows, even if they are a little bit lower on the lower end right now. But the best thing you can do, those of you that are especially in the Conquer Club, you have access to that Discord. You can get on kindly to all the folks in there who we're not seeing. But several of you are here already tonight. I've seen Thomas pop in. WT, you're here as well. WT, we got to get you in there more on the Discord side of things. I think you'd have a great time talking with folks in there either way. You have access to it and you're in there. I know that much. But anyway, all right. So we'll take some more questions and comments here from you guys. So keep them coming, please, so that we kind of know which way you want to go in this conversation, and feel free to call in. But let me talk a little bit about what's been a very prominent topic, and it's not a fun one. And I got into a little bit last night on the post-game show of it is not a word officially. There's no such word as catastrophizing. I am making it a word. There is catastrophe, there's catastrophic, all that stuff. But catastrophizing, what I mean by that, taking something that is one thing and expanding it into irrational proportions that are not as valid when you do those things. Sometimes there's a point you're trying to make that is a very valid point, even if it's something that's not necessarily optimistic or fun or even inherently constructive. That is very good, but you ruin it by saying things. And so last night, I forget the lady's individual, no offense, if you put your stuff out here on our stuff, we have freedom to use it. So if that embarrasses you, maybe you think about it next time. But basically said that, Bruce set Stephen up he knew what he was doing, and he set Stephen up for this thing. Those are the types of things that just do not look good. And those do not, there's no truth to that. It is all emotion based and things like that. And so this is my challenge and my call to you as the Auburn fan base, those of you that are here watching live, all that kind of stuff. Look, I understand. We're talking within the framework of Auburn basketball. The season has not met the expectations that you had to this point. To this point, it may continue this way. A very what people perceive as a lackluster season thus far. However, I forget how many weeks we have left. Let me do the math. What we are the 11th here. 2.5 more weeks, more of February, and about middle. You have over a month. So let's say you have about 4 to 5 weeks left of the season, and there's not another bye week. So you should have at least 9-ish games left on your schedule to get things figured out. Now, this is a very important 9 games and things like that, but people just need to take a step back and take a breather. There are people that think they know better. I had a conversation with someone today on social media that thinks they know better. And I'm like, submit your resume to the AD tomorrow morning. I want to see it on the thing, and then they get their feelings hurt about that. Look, everyone is entitled to their opinion. We're entitled to our opinion about your opinions. It's just the way it goes sometimes. But it's so wild to see how people are catastrophizing right now. And you're going to hear that word from me a lot these days. All right, let me get back to some of your comments here, and we'll keep expounding on a few things. I would even show up for the Auburn experience, even though you refuse to change potpourri to grab bag. Let's see here. If you can't support Auburn in the down times, you don't need to be here in the good times. I would tend to agree with that one there. All right. Micah's got us a comment here. Let's dive into it. I was going to ask about that. How does one maybe not catastrophize and keep it in perspective, but also see that things aren't going right either? There's a hard line there somewhere. Yeah, and I think that's the problem, right? No one knows how to walk that line even keeled. You either get accused of being a sunshine pumper or a negative Nancy or whatever it is. Everybody wants to categorize people into those categories, but it's not necessary. It doesn't have to be that way, right? It doesn't have to be this way. Shout out to Gus Malzahn. By the way, Christy Malzahn has been liking some of the things we've been sharing about her husband. I appreciate that very much. But when you catastrophizing is when you take things out of proportion. Saying that Coach Pearl knew what he was doing and setting Stephen up for failure for this year when he left early, that's catastrophizing. There is no way you can prove that. There is no way that's even true. A father would not set up his son in that way to fail. He simply stepped away because he knew he couldn't give it his all at this time. So these are things that you just have when you share an opinion, you have to state your opinion, and here's the evidence for why I feel that way. Some of that can be statistical. Some of that can be anecdotal, as long as it's a well-rounded thought about it. But maybe I can find the tweet that was I was interacting with someone about earlier, and we'll use that as a frame of reference. But I think that's important to remember: is catastrophizing is taking things out of context. WT says, I do not run around like the house is on fire in downtime because sports are an entertainment, not meaningful in real life. And there's another, heart of this, right? It's the fact that people have their priorities a little out of whack, and it shows in the heart. You can tell when someone's priorities are out of whack when how they respond to sports. I'm just going to be honest, because I can say that because I've been there. I've been that type of person where you could tell my priorities were out of whack because of how vehemently sports made me angry. And then people will take the extreme of that and say, well, that means that you just don't care about winning. That's not the case at all. I do care about winning. It's the whole point that we are fans. It's the whole point that we talk about these things. It's the whole reason that I do a show here. We don't do it just to talk about losing. It's not fun. But you got to keep it in perspective here. Let's see. Mr. Manville says there's still time for basketball team to gel and turn the season into something great. So let me see if I can find this example on Twitter, and maybe I can give the guy some credit because he's a really good basketball commentator. And I think if you're, I don't know how many of you, well, I know a few of you are on TikTok, and I know that's where a lot of his stuff is. but maybe he's posting his stuff other places too. Let me go to my profile or our profile here and see if I shared that exact metric. Here it is. His name is Ryan Hammer. And I forget what his title of his show is called, but look up Ryan Hammer. He's really good about college basketball discussion, analytics, things like that. He says in this tweet that we shared, every March we seed the hidden Cinderella, volatile teams that have strong wins, proving that they can compete, but some bad losses holding back their resume and seed. And then here are the candidates for this year. And he's got a chart that I think you should all go look at. And I don't know if he has them in order of who is the most likely hidden Cinderella in this, but maybe it is, given it's not in alphabetical order, but he's got the team listed, their projected seed at this current point, their best wins, their worst losses, and their biggest strength, given a reasoning behind why he thinks there is a chance it could be a hidden Cinderella. If this is in order of who he thinks is the most likely candidate, Auburn is third behind Wisconsin and TCU. Here is Auburn's resume that as he has laid it out right now. Currently projected as a number 8. Not that we saw that earlier. Their best wins are St. John's at a neutral site and Florida, which in another metric somewhere is ranked as the number 2, like best win of the year. So that's something right there. So a lot of these people, they're catastrophizing, saying Auburn's not going to make the tournament. I'm like, well, right now their resume is too good for them not to make the tournament, but certainly the rest of the season has to play out. So that's your signature wins. There are others there. Arkansas at your place. If you beat Arkansas at their place this week, oh boy, you getting into the tournament. You'd have to lose the rest of the game, which is possible, I guess. Their worst losses are Georgia, who was at one point one of the best in the SEC, and Missouri. So really, I would only throw Missouri in there because Georgia, I think, may bounce back by the end of this thing. If those are your 2 worst losses, I want to put that into perspective for folks here. Missouri and Georgia are your worst losses, not LSU, who just can't win a basketball game. But the 2 teams that have very strong rosters and maybe not are having the success they thought they would have, but very similar shoes here. Those are your worst losses. Those are not bad losses. They're not great, but they're not bad losses. But he gives the reasoning behind the biggest strength for Auburn to be the Cinderella is they're currently ranked. I mean, it's a little bit small on this screen. Free throws, 4th most in the country. Now, a lot of that is for Keyshawn Hall, and a lot of that is because of he makes a lot of those. And as was asked by WT a little bit earlier, is the problem because he's not passing the ball enough? Well, that means that we limit ourselves in free throws, which is put us into good positions with some good games recently. So you got it ebbs and flows, right? I'm good with letting things go as they are, as long as Steven is. So there you go. Look up Ryan Hammer. Look at that metric. It's a very informative. He's a very thoughtful guy in terms of basketball commentary, and what he puts into perspective is statistics and just patterns and things that make for good basketball or good Cinderella teams. And so you may have Auburn positioning itself as a sleeper pick if they can get the rest of the season in the right direction right now. So there's a lot of reasons to be excited about Auburn basketball still. People don't want to hear that because it's not the sexy thing to say. It doesn't get the clicks. It doesn't get the reactions as much, but certainly a lot to be excited about still in the basketball season, even if you don't want to hear it. Let me come back to some of your commentary. I just blame Peyton Thorne for everything. I still believe some people believe that, WT. Let's see here. Micah said, I don't see Steven doing bad at all, even from the outside. Context for those who know, Micah's a Bama fan. But he's not doing Bruce work, but saying the WT house is on fire is moronic. I think he's saying that people saying the house is on fire is moronic, I guess is what we're saying there. Either way, your point stands. Look, outside people are even seeing that the house is not on fire. It's just stupid, right? It just is if you're saying those type of things. At least at this point in the season. We have 7 games remaining. My prediction is 4 wins, 3 losses. Let's take a look at it. Since we're just kind of on this train right now with everybody here, Let's see if I can get our. Sorry, give me a second here. Let's get our schedule pulled up here. It's not going to be easy in terms of the schedule, not pulling the schedule up. Or I hope not. I hope I could manage the internet. It is my job after all. All right. So here's your schedule as it sits right now. Scroll all the way down. All right. On the road at Arkansas, number 21 currently. That'd be a solid win on the road. That'd be definitely a quad one win. At Mississippi State, I don't know where they're sitting at currently. You've got Kentucky at home, Oklahoma, which I believe is not doing that great. Ole Miss, who's always going to be formidable, but I don't think they're having as good of a season either. LSU's having a terrible season, and then you finish up with Alabama. So that is a total of, I think, as you said, 7 games, but let's make sure before we get too far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 4-3. So let's walk that out for Tim a little bit here. Tim says 4-3. Let's just take a best guess. Let's say you do lose to Arkansas on the road, ranked team. Not a bad loss. Let's say you lose to Kentucky. Not a bad loss. Let's say you lose to Alabama on the road. Not a bad loss. Now, that means that you will have beaten in that scenario LSU, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Mississippi State. All teams that you're capable of winning and beating, and and that's not that bad of a year. It's not the amazing year that people thought you might have, but it's not a bad year. All right, let's keep rolling here. What else here? St. John's went from a quad 1 to a quad 4, then back to a quad 1. Did they go all the way to a quad 4? I don't remember that one, but they've always been a good one for Auburn. Throw me a bone here. Where's my team at? I have no clue. I don't spend any time talking about trash. All right, let's get to Hunter's question here. Would you say we have met, not met, or exceeded your preseason expectations thus far? I'm assuming this is for basketball, which is what we've been talking about, Hunter. So I'll answer it in that context. Would you say we have met, not met, or exceeded? I can't talk. Would you say we have met, not met, or exceeded preseason expectations thus far for men's basketball, as he says? Well, it depends on who you talk to, right? If you talk to someone who's very heavy on context right here, I would say you met expectations so far. I think you can't really slip too much before it becomes an underwhelming year, right? I mean, even I could acknowledge that if you lose more than you win the rest of the way, that's an underwhelming year, even for all the context there. But I would say you're at a meet expectations right now, with the potential that if you swing this thing the last stretch of the season really well, let's say 5-2, it can be pushed into a better situation, in my opinion. Okay, you wanted on the hammer list where you're listed at. Alabama is 5 seed. Their best wins are Illinois, Clemson. That's not that good. Texas is your worst loss. I don't consider Texas that bad of a loss personally. I could be wrong on that, but and it says pace and guard play is their strength. So they're 8 on the list, 7 on the list, somewhere down there, if it's in order, just for your frame of reference. That's the only Alabama trash talk that I have. I love that name, though, Micah, the Hammer List. Do check Ryan Hammer out. I know he's on TikTok, but I would assume he's most places now. I think he's got his own podcast. I really enjoy his stuff for basketball commentary. T Manville says, I have to stick maybe with my standard for basketball. All that matters is how you do in the tournament. Teams get hot, teams get cold. And I think that's a fine perspective as well. I think it's important to have the frame of the reference to the season to judge it alongside what happens in the tournament, because you can have an outstanding team in the year and then just crap out in the tournament, Jabari Smith year, or you can have a team that's have an okay year, maybe a little exciting at times, and then just stuns like 2018-19 Final Four team. So it's all important together. But to your point, All that matters is getting into the tournament and figuring it out from there. How many times have we talked about like an 8 seed or a 7 or a 6 making its way to the Final Four? I mean, it can all come together at the right time. Let's see here. WT says, I would say we have done a slight above where I had us for the season, Hunter. People should have seen it. Would be a rebuild year and tempered their expectations. So that's WT's perspective. Well, I mean, for those else that haven't answered it, that are here, can you answer the question as well? Let's just get everybody else's perspective and be honest. If you think they've, has Auburn basketball met, not met, or exceeded your preseason expectations thus far, given that they have 7 games left, they're currently projected in the tournament as an 8 seed, all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about it. Let's see where everybody else's mind is at. I like 5-2 winning the last game, of course. That'd be a good one. 5-2 is very doable. I think that's a strong end to the year, given some of the competition you have left. Basketball is the only sport where the only thing that matters is winning at the right time. It's far more important than consistency, in his opinion. I would think you could, if that's your frame of reference, Hunter, I think you could make that case for baseball and softball, because as long as you can make the tournament there and you get hot at the right time, I think football now too, I think it's about getting hot at the right time. Miami, if you have a tournament, if that's all it is make the tournament and get hot, I mean, I think you can make that case for a lot of places. Micah says, I thought about that on my way home. It's almost time for bracket pick'em again. It seems like it was just yesterday when we did it last year. Yeah, I'll probably do a full pick'em show, and I will be dog tired by the end of it. Now, I say that with not knowing what my schedule is going to look like at that time. I don't anticipate any issues with not being, but those ones are very long, but they're fun to do. And because if you not know what he's referencing, we do a pick'em where we do a bracket contest, and the night before when did we do it? We did it the Monday night because I like to do it before the first 4 happen, the play-in games. I think that's what we did, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm blanking here. We fill out a bracket that goes into our bracket challenge. Can't win it if it were to win it, but just see, like, as the collective, we vote on it. That is who's going to win March Madness or whatever, and see what everybody says. All right, I asked you guys your met, not met, exceeded, not met, but I'm incredibly critical. Are you constructively critical? But you have a fair mindset, I think, Thomas, that all that matters is getting the tournament. And so that kind of counterbalances some incredibly criticalness, if that's fair. As long as it's constructive, that's all I care about. I will say SP is given an extremely difficult hand. Only returning a player was a guy that was only a rotational guy. I don't know if he was only a rotational guy, but I think I understand the point you're trying to make there. Everyone else is new to the school and the system. Not any chemistry prior, at least not when you compare, to your point, Hunter, the chemistry that was just set up for success last year to this. It was never going to meet that. To meet that type of chemistry means that you got a what's the best hand in poker? Royal flush 5 times in a row. I mean, that type of chemistry takes effort, takes planning, takes longevity, takes all that to pull that off. And it's just not going to happen on an off chance of putting a bunch of guys together in 1 year. They've turned football into what basketball is. No one even cares about the SEC championships very much anymore. They used to be the second to the national championship. I think plenty of people still care about it if your team's in it, but maybe the general audience doesn't care as much. But I think there's ways to fix it, but that's not really an Auburn topic. So that's a topic for something else on another day. You had to fight every one of us every year in that one. Now, listen, Micah, I remember, I don't know if you've been here that long, but it was either last year or the year before that we put Alabama all the way to the Final Four, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think we were fair to Alabama. I think we were. Maybe. I can't remember. You can go watch the live stream. It's still up there, I'm sure. All 3 hours of it. Y'all please come entertain me. Don't make me do that thing and nobody show up for it. So go ahead and put that on your calendars. It'll probably be Monday night because the first 4 are Tuesday and Wednesday, and I will be locked in on those. Tim says, not met as we should have won the Georgia and Texas A&M games. But to a lot of people's point, Texas A&M was one, you know. Georgia, yeah, listen, that one probably had a lot of control that on our end that we could have handled. And there's a case for a lot of them. Let's go back and look at something here since we're on the schedule. I know that there are other things that we can talk about. So please, if somebody wants to change the subject in the Auburn space, please do. But we're just here, just diving into this tonight. So it is what it is. Your losses, and I grant you the bad losses to the major teams of college basketball in non-conference play, like those speak for themselves. We got walloped. But your loss versus Vanderbilt is 8 points. Your loss versus Alabama is 4 points. Your loss to Tennessee is 8 points. No. Yeah. And people forget that there was a nice 4-game winning streak right there with some good wins. In between all that, Missouri, you lost by 10, and I think that was a free throw match situation. You lost by 2 to Texas A&M, and you lost by 4 in overtime to Georgia. This team has not gotten walloped in SEC play. They've been in every single game, mostly at the end of this thing. They just haven't gotten over the hump of being able to finish strong yet. And that makes sense with a lack of chemistry. There's a lot of context that people are missing in this. They don't want to admit it, and they don't want to see it because it doesn't sound as sexy. And that's just the facts. You had to make a deal with the devil to get Alabama far in our Auburn bracket challenge? No. Are you shocked by this? Of course, I guess we were the ones making the deal with the devil, seeing as how you literally had a coach whose name is about as close as you can get to Satan as possible, and colors red and all that, and the sky is orange and blue and with a sunset. So God makes those beautiful things. So there was a nice blue and orange sunset out here when I was taking a walk earlier. What were your thoughts on SP's technical foul he had late in the game the other night? From what I saw of his discussion about it, he felt that he hadn't done anything wrong. Sometimes it's not what you did wrong, it's what you had done previously and what had been building up to that point. And so they're looking for an excuse to pop off on you. So it kind of feels to me, just speculating, that was the situation more than anything. There are a lot of referees who have reputations for being hotheads. Pat Adams was there last night, but he's not the one that called the tech, as far as I'm aware, last night. Steven's gotten that may be his first tech. Bruce he had several techs a year. So if that's the case, and he even said in the press conference, I think, that he prides himself on maybe not getting into the officials as much as his dad did. But hey, at some point you got to do it. It's unfortunate timing. I think given the context of the situation, he probably wasn't aiming for that, which made it a little bit more surprising. Yeah, there's all that Alabama discussion about all that stuff, but I'm not too concerned with that. That'll all take care of itself. And by take care of itself, people with money with Alabama will take care of itself. All right. We're at 45 minutes roughly in the show here. We can keep talking basketball if you'd like. There's plenty of other things to discuss. Baseball season. I hope some of you have listened to the podcast, or if you were there for the live show, remember watching that. We did our baseball preview. I would love to know if anybody else has any general thoughts or predictions about how you think the season might go. I think it's appropriate to do so right before the season starts. It begins on Friday. We got a series with Youngstown State And there's a lot of hype behind this. So that's out there. If you'd like to discuss that, I can bring up some other things that have happened this week if you're interested in those as well. A well-placed technical will energize the team. I don't think that one was well-placed, though, which is why I don't think it was on purpose. He was a little shocked by it. Hunter says, I will say as well as Pettiford has done scoring as of late, so 2 games, I have not been impressed with a lot of his decision-making, lots of poor shots and passes. I think it comes down to this is a guy that has a lot of expectations and wants to meet those expectations, is trying to do a little bit more. He's also, I think we could all put ourselves in his shoes and say, hey, I was supposed to be the guy, this Keyshawn Hall guy comes in, and then he is the guy scoring-wise, and it's a little bit hurts my ego a little bit and want to do a little bit more, trying too much. Look, these are all speculative things, but I can make a lot of reasons for why that makes sense. Here's what I have seen out of Tahad that people are missing. At times, some great defense. Seen a lot of effort from his standpoint. Seen him facilitating more. And unfortunately, I think fans have to choose. People were getting on him for not scoring, but then they're mad at him for taking so many shots. I'm not saying you are, Hunter. I've seen others going more extreme with that. So pick what you want. To make more shots right now when his shot's not on, he's got to take more, thus more misses, and that means that he suffers in some of the other categories where he's been doing a lot better. It's just people have to think about these things sometimes in their criticisms. We don't have the depth. We need another point guard and a big in the 5, and we could be a 1-loss team. The medical issue with our 7-footer really hurt us. He could have been the difference. Tim, I don't know if I agree with you on that, like the difference. I don't think Emeka Oporum changes drastically this team, other than giving people a breather and an extra body to run in there, a la like Blake Muselik is being utilized right now. I saw some exciting things out of him against some lesser competition, but I also recognize it's lesser competition. I think he would have been a depth piece for this year, and I think that's perfectly fine. But I don't know that I would agree he would have been part of the solution to make us a one-loss SEC league team. At the point guard position, so you've got Tahad, who's carrying the load. Caden Magwood was there, had some issues with some team rules, and thus it looks like he is, based off of right now, has not earned his way back into whatever good graces he needs to be in to play some more. That means KO has to play a little bit there. Blake Muselik is where there is depth there. It's just not the depth that people want or the people that recognize as depth. There are ways to work around it. Just because you don't have another true point guard or a traditional big at the 5 more doesn't make you it's not an excuse for having only 1 loss in the SEC. Again, I point back to this. People have in their mind that you have, especially on the big man issue was the big talking point at the start of the season. Go back and look at the 2018-19 team. Their starting center was 6'7". I think maybe it was 6'9", but Anthony McLemore. That's it. Austin Wiley was there. I grant you that, but there were some criticisms about Austin Wiley. He's 6'10". He was great. 6'11", actually, I think. People are trying to pigeonhole things into these fine details and say it has to. And Tim, I'm just using this as a sounding board. I hope you recognize that. It's not that simple. I promise you, folks, it is not that simple. And Tim also gave us just excited about the baseball team. Well, tell us what you're excited about. If you're excited about it, let me know. All right, WT with a different topic tonight. Do you think with Malzahn retiring that Herb Hand will also retire and stay with him at his lake house? Oh, that's a good one. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's funny. I haven't heard about Herb Hand retiring. I'm just glad the Malzahns are back. In terms of being able to be in Auburn more. Auburn is better with the Malzahns here. They are Auburn people through and through and always have been, and is why it was such a stupid decision in 2020. The difference between this team and the 2019 was the 2019 team could score at will. We shot the 3 ball at like 40%. Have you looked that up to make sure that's correct? I mean, you're probably right. I mean, it felt like that at times. But I don't remember them shooting that well consistently throughout the whole year. At the end of the year, and that's where this narrative comes from, it's just about getting hot at the right times. There's some degree to that, but it's not that simple. The difference isn't about the shooting. No, I would disagree with you there, Hunter. The difference is they found a way to work well together with what they had. Just because they didn't have the prototypical sized big men did not diminish what they did as a team together. They played well together. We can talk. People keep asking like throughout the year, what's the one thing that this Auburn basketball team needs to do better? And at one point it was turnovers. They somewhat increased that or decrease that. And then now it's been, they need better 3-point shooting. And they did well in that last night, and it didn't really help all that much. So, and the other team started off hot with 3-pointers, but then got much worse than them throughout the stream. So, it's, I had a point there, and then it kind of escaped me. Yeah, it's not that simple, I think, is my main point out of all of that. This is WT. I truly hope that Malzahn is invited to be an AU ambassador. I think he's good for the program and a fine person. I think he would be a very great candidate, WT, for some type of, like Bruce Pearl has now, or just something involved with Auburn athletics. He might make a great AD someday. I don't know. You could do a lot worse than Gus Malzahn in terms of knowing that your leader. One of the great benefits of Gus Malzahn is you knew the guy was squeaky clean. You should forgive people of their past, not forget it, but forgive people of their past. That was always a people's issue with Hugh Freeze. There was something about Brian Harsin that always rubbed people the wrong way. People never had a true issue outside of coaching decisions with Gus Malzahn, and so you could do a lot worse than him. Bryce Brown was shooting through a hoop the size of the Grand Canyon. People forget too that D'Angelo Purifoy came on very strong too at the end too with that, and the year prior. I am still to this day, we'll talk about things that you'll die on a hill about. That 2019-2020 team, the one that had their SEC tournament and March Madness taken away from them, that they were going to do something special. Does that mean go to the Final Four back-to-back years? Is that, I don't know, but it just felt like with the right situation, the right seating, that team had the makeup together. It kind of felt a little bit like last year's team to me, where there was a lot of continuity that you lost your Bryce Brown, your Chuma Okeke, your Jared Harper, and still they were pretty dang competitive. So I'm convinced of that. That's my hot take, I guess. Baseball has pitching, defense, and offense. We will score some runs. Thank you, Tim. I asked for more detail and you gave me some more, but typically you would hope they have all those things. Yes, I get what you tried to say. You'll know more about the team in short order. I think the only thing this team lacks versus 2018-19 is chemistry. I agree. I maybe that was the point I lost myself in. I think this is all about chemistry, and heaven help the teams that run into Auburn at the end of this year if they get it together and get it figured out. This team has the potential to be just as good as most Auburn teams that we've seen under Bruce Pearl. Most, you heard me say most. But they're just lacking that one little thing. Chemistry. And once the chemistry is right, I wouldn't want to face them. Auburn shot 37.7% from the 3-point line or 3-point line in 2018-19. So pretty good. Well over 1 out of every 3. So every time the floor, 1 out of every 3 shots, you're going to make that. Not bad. Close to, you get even a little bit higher than that. But I think people thought it was a little bit higher than that. It really wasn't. So it goes to show you that it wasn't as good all the time as people thought it was. Bryce Brown, maybe number here. 41%. It's all combined. I'm not sure what all those numbers mean. 41.0%. 141 free throws made, maybe? Oh, that's kind of confusing. I tried to make it out, WT. I tried. All right. We have a few minutes left in our time together. So this is it, folks. Get all your topics in now, whether it is a current events, whatever. Let's talk about it. Drop it in here right now. We have talked a ton of basketball tonight. I thought we'd get more baseball talk out of you guys. I should have known. Here's what I've discovered. Baseball is just not something that people want to talk about a ton, which is why we've stopped doing those live streams. But you never know. We'll see. We'll keep figuring things out as time goes on. Anyway, drop all your stuff in here real quick. Questions, comments that you want to hear here at the last minute. If you haven't called, this is your last opportunity to do so. So don't miss out on taking advantage of that. But your reminders for your upcoming week, your tentative schedule here at E2C Network for live stream content. We've got our next post-game stream. I know, folks, I know you're not excited about this team right now, but you should be. If they get this win in Arkansas, woo, that resume is going to be looking pretty sweet. Sweep in Arkansas would be amazing. Post-game show, it'll be a late one, I believe, because I think the game starts at 8:30. I think that's correct, Eastern time. So yes, late one. Join us. We'd love to talk about it with you. We'd love to see you there. 9 Eastern time, Sunday nights. We're back. So Super Bowl. So, don't have to worry about that going again, but we'll definitely talk about it. The Auburn Experience is back. 162, episode 162, that is. Austin and I will be back in the saddle. Join us 9 Eastern time on Sunday. And then for your final thing, as I got rid of my media guy there, another post-game show, Auburn versus Mississippi State next Wednesday. Keep in mind, that means no Auburn Family Night next week. I think this is the last one we have for a conflict for the regular season. There will be some during March Madness, just because I will be watching basketball. But we'll address that when we get there and all that kind of stuff. So there's your tentative schedule right now. All right, let's see what we've got going on right now. WT giving us some more stats. It looks like March overall, some 10 games. I don't know what that means. 38.8% 3-point percentage, 11.8 3-pointers per game. Okay. It's a strong number. It's a strong number, but they were taking a lot too. On top of that, women's tennis is awesome, and men's golf too. Yeah, Tim, I don't know if you were here earlier, but we went. Somebody asked. Oh, it was Auburn Elvis. Auburn Elvis stopped in, asked, "What's the team that you think rights the ship a little bit for the Auburn fans that are down about Auburn athletics this year?" There's a lot of exciting stuff that could be happening in the spring. Those are two of them. Others as well. Baseball's in that list. I would say high too. So, a lot to look forward to. All right, clarification. Brown made 41% of his 3-point shots. He made 141 3-point baskets. There you go. That was what I was missing out of all that. It just was a little bit confusing in there. And sometimes it's not even you guys that type it in confusing. It's just that I'm an idiot and I don't know how to read or do math or apparently podcast. All right, last minute questions. Drop them in here. What do you got? Last things before we call it a night on Auburn Family Night. Once again, I want to remind you guys that if you are a channel member, you have access to our Discord. So take advantage of that. WT, you have access through the Patreon already. So please do yourself a service and get involved in there. And listen, I'll just be frank. We'll have some workshop in here. Part of you that have wondered where everybody is and that you generate interest in talking there. It makes them want to be a part of this more and that. So that would be one way that you can assist in that way. I should know by now that you are an idiot. I blame myself. Hunter says, I'm so excited for A-Day. I'll be attending. Great to hear, Hunter. We'll be there as well as the plan. And even without all of the different things that could and should be happening alongside the A-Day spring game, because there's no other sports that weekend, I'm glad that they're making it a full-blown experience. So I hope the Auburn family responds. You need to look into that Discord thing. I have looked at it once in a while, just I have thought about it. Yeah, just make it a habit. Make a post in there once a day. And Hunter's in there. We finally got Hunter back in there. So it's the slow season, certainly, but come on in and hang out. I think you'll really enjoy it because you have access to that. And your name's listed in there. So we'd love to see you in there. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here, being part of our little family within the Auburn family and enjoying Auburn Family Night with us. We appreciate you so much being here. As we go, I remind you, the Auburn Creed asks you to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. We are going to ask you to do the exact same thing. War Eagle.